Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Akim, Shabbat Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Makabadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone for teaching us the truth and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath and listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will always edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of just wanted to discuss the importance of fathers, and briefly what inspired this lesson was I was reading an article earlier today, in regards to they were comparing the Americans, they were comparing the spending habits of people and the amount of money that is spent on Mother's Day, so-called Mother's Day and Father's Day. And what they know and realize is that a lot of more people tend to spend a lot more money on Father's Day. I'm sorry, Mother's Day. So just please, just forgive me. My voice is kind of like low, right? But it shows that in this society there is a lack of importance of fathers and what they bring to the household. And in this society, it's normally and commonly known that a father's only role and importance is only stripped down basically to a financial level, right? It's not seen as anything else other than just about money and finances. Yes, the scriptures do say that money is a defense, and that is 100% true. But what the society has done is reduce the father, especially the Israelite man, into as crumbs, that he doesn't bring anything of value, of substance, of quality into the development of his household, into the into the raising of children. His presence and his role is merely just seen as an ATM, and that's pretty much it. As a matter of fact, there's even been cases where mothers would even get praised on Father's Day, right? And yes, Father's Day is not part of our culture, right? It's already covered in our law to honor our fathers and our mothers, right? But the point really is there's a lack of importance of the Israelite man, as well as the importance of fathers, right? So since I actually said that, there's this one account. I want to get a couple accounts here. So in regards to the importance of the Israelite man, right? Okay, I just wanted to read this quick account here in regards to, the importance of men, right? This is the book of Esther, chapter 1. I'll start at verse 19. And it said, "If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him. Let it be written in the book of the laws of the Persians and the Medes." Right? So this was the second beast that you read about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, right? And it says that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus. Let the king give her a royal estate unto another that is better than she, right? So just for some background context, you had this woman, this queen named Vashti, and essentially she was summoned to meet the king, and she didn't show up, right? She didn't come, right? So so the point's in verse 20 here, and it says, and when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, All the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And this saying pleased the king and the princes and the king according to all the word of Memucan. And he sent letters to the king's provinces, to every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. Right. So this is during the rule of the Persians and the Medes, and this was a royal decree that was put forth after the actions of Queen Vashti, right? Because it would seem being in a negative light that the queen did this to the king, and they didn't want that vibration. They didn't want that that image, that action being trickled down and being practiced by the lower class of people, right? So this was a major empire. It was about approximately 127 provinces, right? So they didn't want that kind of behavior, to be instructed by and practiced by the younger women. So he put forth a decree which outlined to basically give your husband's honor, whether your husband, he might be working as a carpenter, or he might be working as a stonemason, or he might be, beating wheat, right, on a threshing floor or something, right? Or he could have been a cupbearer, regardless of what his role was. His occupation and his presence was seen as something of value and importance to the household, right? So, and this, when you go and excuse me, when you compare it to, in this society, Esau puts forth a lot of unrighteous decrees, which shows, a lot of women who take advantage, a lot of baby mothers, they take advantage of, fathers, especially, there's been even cases and situations where fathers, have to pay child support for a child that's not theirs, so there's a lot of unrighteous dealings in this kingdom when it comes to the roles of fathers, and it merely being reduced to, an alimony check, or it's merely reduced to, child support. There's even been cases also where women will deliberately sleep with more than one man so they can be able to calculate if they have a child by each of those men, they can get more child support. So it's merely only about extracting money and finances. And the scriptures talk about the wickedness of a woman, right? So this is just an example of a decree that was put forth to show the importance of husbands and the role that they played in this particular empire, right? But in this society, we see the complete contrast. There's a strong distaste for men. There's a strong distaste, also due to those serpent philosophies. A lot of women attend these universities through an acquiring understanding of feminism. So, there's a lot of essentially distaste for the importance of men, the Israelite man, and fathers in this part of the world, right? And fathers are very much needed, into development of a child and their essentially their development, you know. So just a quick example. I want to get two examples. One of the things a father does, is encourages his children, right? And a lot of us as Israelite, men and women too, a lot of us, because of some contention that has occurred between our parents, it shows and it trickles down onto the child. It disfigures the image of how a lot of us see ourselves, right? A child is supposed to, a father is a good role to plays a very important role in encouraging his children. This is the book of Exodus chapter 4 verse 10, and it says, and Moses said unto the Lord Yahweh, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech, and I am slow of a slow tongue. And the Lord said unto him, who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or the deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord Yahweh? Go now therefore, now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said unto my Lord, I pray thee by my hand of him whom thou wilt send. Right? So this is a great exchange here between Moses and the Lord, because, someone who is eloquent, it shows that someone who is eloquent essentially is somebody who speaks very well. They have a very elaborate vocabulary, right? But the point really is that the Lord was encouraging, Moses, right? Even despite him feeling so-called inadequate in the flesh. And those things can also creep up onto us also, because for you it may not be, eloquent. You might be a very, very good reader, but you might have a particular, maybe you stutter when you speak or something like that, or maybe you have some type of other insecurity, right? And then it's essentially developing yourself, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, to get you more understanding, so you overcome a lot of those insecurities, right? But the point is that Lord in this situation was encouraging Moses, like, I will be with you. You know what I'm saying? That's a very comforting thing. You know what I'm saying? That's a very comforting thing to know, because when you think about the welfare about a lot of our children, they don't get that sort of encouragement. They don't get that sort of they normally get discouragement, especially a lot of the times by mothers. They get torn down and believe that they're not adequate enough, right? I'm not saying all mothers do this, but there are examples of this, that is that occurs, because again, through situations that may have arose between her and the father, that she takes that energy out on the children, right? And that's very, very detrimental to the children's development, right? So so that was encouragement, right, to show you the importance of a father, right? So what I want to do next bear with me 1 second. Let me get the next account. Just bear with me 1 second. Laptop's kind of slow. Okay, the next account, one of the another importance of fathers is essentially counsel, godly counsel, right? Properly instructing your children, right? Because we have a bunch of ungodly sons running around, and essentially they're a terror unto Egypt, right? This spiritual Sodom in Egypt, also known as America, right? So counsel, proper counsel and guidance and instructions is another reason why fathers are very much well needed, within the life of, sons and daughters too, right? This is the book of Tobit, chapter 4, verse 1, and it says, in the day Tobit remembered the money which he had committed to Gabriel in ridges of Media, and he said unto himself, I have wished for death. Wherefore do I not call for my son Tobias, that I may signify to him of the money before I die? And when he had called him, he said, My son, when I am dead, bury me, and despise not thy mother, but honor her all the days of thy life, and do that which shall please her, and grieve her not. Remember, my son, she saw many dangers for thee, and when wast in her womb, and when she is dead, bury me in one grave. So here's really the kicker of the godly counsel that Tobit is going to give to his son Tobias. And it says, verse 5, My son, be mindful of the Lord Yahweh, all power, all thy days, and let not thy will be set to sin, right? And what is sin? A sin is a transgression of the law, right? So our people don't have this proper counsel and guidance, especially navigating this valley shadow of death, as King David described it, right? So it says, or transgress against his commandments, do uprightly all thy life long, and follow not the ways of unrighteousness, right? So a lot of our sons, a lot of our children don't have that sort of counsel, right? A good example of that was of a son that was properly being well instructed was Joseph, when he was in the presence of Pharaoh's wife. Because what did the Pharaoh's wife want to do? She wanted to lay down and lay with him. But Joseph, having that godly counsel, he fled from her presence, right? And eventually, he was accused by her, again, showing the wickedness of women, right? But that's not a lesson. That's not the lesson for today. The point is that he understood that if he had done that thing, it would have been a symbol of wickedness. It would have been something that was displeasing in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, right? So it shows you again the importance of proper counsel, godly counsel from Yahweh Bashan Shai. That's what a lot of the things our children are missing, that wisdom. And the scriptures say that wisdom is the principal thing. Get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding, right? So continuing on in verse 5, Tobit chapter 4, and it says, Do uprightly all thy life long, and follow not the ways of unrighteousness. If thou deal truly, thy doings shall prosperously succeed to thee, and to all them that live justly. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thy eye be envious. And it says, Neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of the Most High, Yahweh Bashan Shai, shall not be turned away from thee. So it more so shows you the importance of that counsel also, because he's given them some spiritual gain in regards to how, not only how to please the Lord, but when you're in a difficult and you're in a low situation, and you're in a situation where you need you want somebody to look out for you, the Lord's going to remember those things that you did, with the substance you had, right? Scriptures say riches profit not in a day of wrath, but righteousness can deliver from death, right? That's a simple, I don't want to say it's a simple precept, but it's a precept. If our people had that sort of understanding, it would be, they would not be in a lot of the situations that they're in, right? A lot of the good things that they can do, by implementing these laws, statutes, and commandments, it would prevent them from doing from calamities, right? But our people have a mindset that is to sin, right? They what does the scripture say? To do good, they have no knowledge, but they're wise to do evil, right? So, I'll read verse 7, and it says, as a matter of fact, I'll read verse 9. I'll read verse 8 to 9, and then that'll be it. And it says, if thou has abundance, give alms accordingly. And if have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. For thou layest up a good treasure, and for thyself against the day of necessity, right? So again, foresight, that's another aspect too. The father's giving him understanding, like when you're in your low positions and your low situations, these things, these spiritual riches that you've sown can help you in a day of wrath, right? Those things, you've laid up treasures in heaven, right? Where, moth nor dust doth corrupt, right? A father has foresight on things that are going to happen, and he's implanting those seeds into his son, those little precepts. The law is a lamp unto thy feet, right? Those things can give you guidance, right? A father is supposed to give guidance, right? But in this society, it's stripped away the importance of fathers to merely be a budding joke, and to be essentially just a casual ATM, just to be used casually, for your own will, right? But anyways, I just wanted to touch on that. As a matter of fact, I'll end off with this precept. Hold on, I think that's the book of, is it Sirach? Give me 1 second. Because technically, if you really think about it, the prophets are really fathers too. Because they're the ones that are trying to clothe you, and give you foresight, and give you understanding of what's going on. This is Sirach 4:10, and it says, be as a father unto the fatherless, instead of a husband unto their mother, so shall thou be as the son of the Most High, and he shall love thee more than thy mother doth, right? So, the prophets also represent, a father, a spirit of a father, trying to get our people to essentially give them the proper instruction so they don't fall into destruction, but a lot of our people will fall into destruction because they've despised instruction, right? The scriptures say that he shall laugh in their calamity, to roughly paraphrase, right? But anyways, I'll end off the lesson there, but I just wanted to do something just in regards to the importance of fathers and their glorious benefit, especially through having this wisdom and understanding, to essentially be fed and be clothed, to have the foresight of what's actually going on, right? So anyways, I'll end it there, but hopefully this lesson was edifying. I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh B'Shem Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.